Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Macbeth, and today we are looking at Act 2, Scene 4. So we'll start with a plot summary. It's quite a speedy little scene. So it begins with Ross and an old man, just simply an old man, hanging around, and they make some observations about some of the strange things that have been going on. They talk about the fact that it's dark all the time, that even when it should be daytime, it's still nighttime. They talk about strange behaviours in nature, patterns of hunting, different types of birds hunting each other. They talk about the wildness of King Duncan's horses, that they have become wild and violent. Then Macbeth joins the scene, and Macbeth gives them some crucial information. He explains that Donalbain and Malcolm have indeed fled, and that the assumption is that they arranged for the guards to kill Macbeth. And then they also talk about the fact that Macbeth is next in line and is actually right on his way to becoming king in that moment. So it's quite a lot of like factual stuff, but it is also very, very important for some key themes, which we'll talk about in a moment. The other important thing just to be aware of that happens at the end of the scene is Macduff confirms that he is not going to Scone to be with Macbeth in his coronation. Instead, he's going home to Fife. So even though it's only very small, it's only a very little comment, it just starts to sow those seeds of the two of them perhaps being on opposite sides. So one question that you might have is, why the random old man? Why isn't Ross talking to Angus or Lennox or somebody else? And the quick answer to this is quite simply that, well, the old man is meant to represent the every man. Okay, so that the point is that the scene is not just about the coming violence for noblemen or royalty. It's for everyone. So the fact that this conversation occurs, one, suggests that everyone is talking about these strange occurrences, but it's also about saying the kind of scale, how vast the suffering is. So I'm just going to take you through a couple of key quotations from the scene. Like I said, it's quite a quick one, so we'll be through it in no time. So this is what Ross says. Ross says, "Thou seest the heavens, as troubled with man's act, threaten his bloody stage." So we've got both personification and metaphor here. So heavens is personified, and it's basically saying that heaven is troubled by the actions of man. Now, we have to assume that he means the guards and Donalbain and Malcolm. He is not talking about Macbeth at the moment, even though technically he is. He just doesn't realise. And here we've got this metaphor, the bloody stage being a metaphor for life. So it's almost like he's saying that actually the heavens are seeing fit to punish the earth for the behaviours of man. And that's exactly how they would have interpreted this behaviour, just what they don't know is that it's Macbeth that's done it, not Malcolm and Donalbain. And then he gives us this example of one of the ways that the heavens is punishing the earth. And he says, by the clock it is day, so according to the time it should be daylight, and yet dark night strangles the travelling lamp. So again, we've got another example, but of personification here, this idea that darkness is smothering out the light. Now, if we think about this from a thematic perspective, this fits into the idea of good versus evil, because it's so symbolic, isn't it, of dark taking over light. And it also fits into all of those things that Macbeth and Lady Macbeth were asking for. They asked for darkness, for stars to hide their fires so that they could get away with these awful deeds. And so it is actually happening. A quote that everyone always remembers because it's so horrible, where they're talking about Duncan's horses being wild, turned wild in nature, as they would make war with mankind. So you've got this incredible hyperbole there, that in this analogy, that actually the horses are turning against man. Note that they're Duncan's horses as well. But it's worse than that. 'Tis said they eat each other. And this conversation happening between Ross and the old man, they're both confirming what they've heard and seen. So it's not just one person that thinks it, 'tis said. This is obviously being spoken of all over the shop. So again, we've got this sense of, because of the disruption, of the divine right of kings, nature is turned on itself, that there is chaos now where order should be. And this is just the last little quote that we're going to look at today. This is said by Macduff just at the very end of the scene, where he turns to Ross and the old man, and this is about going to Scone, going to where Macbeth is. Well, may you see things well done there, adieu, lest our old robes sit easier than our new. Now I'm hoping that already you're thinking, hang on a minute, old robes, it's that same metaphor. So it's the extended metaphor of robes and status. But what Macduff is saying here is a little bit dangerous, because he is saying, I hope everything goes well, but there's a little part in his head that thinks, I wonder if our old positions where we were under Duncan's rule will sit easier, will feel more comfortable than this new rule. So it is a quiet and small criticism of Macbeth. So again, just showing the polarizing of Macbeth and Macduff. So finishing up here for you guys, just a few little comments on some themes and context as well. If you wanted to write about the notion of order versus chaos, this is a really good scene, but everything kind of fits here. It's all about the divine right of kings, because that the divine right of kings has been thrown into disorder. There are consequences, and those consequences is the chaos in nature, the fact that it's constantly dark, that kind of natural predators are behaving strangely, that horses are at battle with one another, with man, and are eating each other. But all of this is because Duncan, God's chosen vessel, has been killed. Another very important theme here is this notion of betrayal. That, I mean, obviously what Macbeth has done is the greatest betrayal, but the perception of betrayal in Malcolm and Donalbain in this scene, and you're starting to get that kind of, again, those hints about Macduff and Macduff's waning loyalty to Macbeth. So quick little scene for you there. Hope that was useful. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. And if you would like any additional material, if you've got any questions, then please do just pop me a note in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thank you so very much for watching, and happy revising.